Have you ever noticed someone who seems to linger in your thoughts, not because of love or admiration, but because they just can't seem to let you go? I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine. Let's call her Maya. Maya was the kind of person who carried herself with quiet confidence. She knew her worth, she knew her boundaries, and she refused to let anyone dictate how she should feel, act, or think. One day, she realized that someone in her life, someone she had barely interacted with, was obsessed with her. At first, she thought it was curiosity, maybe even admiration, but soon she saw the pattern. Every attempt she made to set a boundary was met with pressure, subtle manipulation, or invasive attention. And the more calm, composed, and self-assured she remained, the more obsessed they became. It was like watching a storm swirl around someone unshakable, a storm trying desperately to move her, to change her, to pull her into its chaos, but unable to touch her core. And that's when it clicked for Maya. The obsession wasn't about her at all. It was about the other person's inability to handle someone who refuses to be controlled, someone who doesn't need their approval. The lesson was profound. As Maya put it to me one night, the moment you own your worth, you stop being a person to control, and suddenly you become the person they can't stop thinking about. This story isn't just about her. It's about understanding why some people fixate on us, why their attention can feel overwhelming, and why the key to freedom is not changing them, but standing firm in your own self-respect. Today, I want to explore that with you. The invisible power of boundaries, clarity, and self-possession, and how it transforms not just the way they see us, but the way we see ourselves. Welcome to Narc Truth, where we uncover the hidden dynamics of narcissistic behavior and reveal why some people become unforgettable to narcissists. Today, we're diving into the truth behind narcissistic obsession and how self-respect can turn the tables. If you've ever wondered why a narcissist can discard one person without a second thought but stay fixated on another, you're stepping into a very uncomfortable yet enlightening truth. Narcissists are not obsessed with everyone they meet. Most people pass through their lives without leaving a mark. But there is a particular type of person who gets under their skin, someone they cannot forget. We often focus on a narcissist's charm, their magnetic way of drawing people in, the clever manipulation and seductive words that promise the world. But to understand obsession, we need to look deeper, past the surface, and see what drives their mind and behavior. Narcissists do not obsess randomly. They fixate on people who provoke something deep and unresolved within them. One of the most powerful triggers is unwavering boundaries. Boundaries are deceptively simple. They are statements of self-respect, a clear line showing where you end and someone else begins. They say without apology that you will not tolerate harm, that your integrity is not for sale, even when someone else tries to dismantle it. Many people compromise or blur their lines to avoid conflict, but rare individuals hold firm. This steadfastness is exactly what fascinates and frightens a narcissist. Narcissists measure relationships through power and control. They thrive when they can dominate, bend others to their will, and make themselves the center of someone's emotional world. A person who enforces boundaries disrupts that. If you stand firm and refuse to be absorbed into their orbit, the narcissist encounters something threatening. That threat often becomes obsession. Their focus is not love or admiration, it is disturbance. When someone refuses to comply, they experience a crisis. Their fragile ego wobbles and their mind loops, searching for a weakness they can exploit. Boundaries act like a mirror, reflecting the insecurities they hide beneath charm and social skill. Daily interactions with a narcissist are tests. Flattery, guilt, silent treatment, subtle undermining, these are all ways to measure your limits. The more you resist, the less predictable you are, and the more they fixate. You become an anomaly, and anomalies draw attention. Boundaries are not meant to isolate. They are self-preservation. By enforcing them, you reveal the narcissist's limited power and disrupt their control. Every obsessive glance, message, or tactic is proof that your boundaries work. But the more effective your boundaries, the stronger their fixation may grow. Obsession can include relentless communication, stalking, or attempts to manipulate your social and professional circles. The key is remembering that their obsession is a reaction, not a reflection of you. Your boundaries do not cause it, they reveal it. Standing firm requires self-awareness, clarity, and alignment with your values. It requires recognizing manipulation, separating provocation from genuine interaction, and acting consistently. Each time you hold your ground, you reinforce your autonomy while exposing the narcissist's weaknesses. Resistance triggers hyperfocus. They cannot rest until they regain control or understand why they can't. Paradoxically, your refusal to yield both provokes obsession and demonstrates your power. You are revealing a truth they cannot manage. Seeing through a narcissist requires observation, courage, and emotional intelligence. It means noticing inconsistencies, manipulations, and contradictions between words and actions. Simply perceiving reality as it is, without being seduced or intimidated, becomes a mirror for the narcissist. This is threatening because their identity depends on control and deception. They carefully construct illusions, but the observer exposes their vulnerability. This confrontation with reality sparks obsession as the narcissist analyzes every interaction, replaying conversations, scrutinizing reactions, and looping endlessly over the unresolved challenge, someone who cannot be deceived. The act of seeing through a narcissist is itself a form of power. It does not require confrontation or aggression, just consistency and clarity. It shows the limits of the narcissist's influence and highlights their fragile self-concept. Narcissists are drawn to those who expose their weaknesses because it forces them to confront insecurities. Most people respond predictably to manipulation, apologizing, bending, compromising. But when someone resists, the narcissist encounters uncertainty. This triggers relentless attention and obsession. Clarity is not about superiority. It is about maintaining perspective, awareness, and alignment with reality, even in the face of manipulative tactics. Strong self-respect destabilizes narcissists because it is not arrogance, but a clear recognition of one's value. People with self-respect act consistently, guided by an internal compass. Their worth is not dependent on others' approval or manipulation. For narcissists, this is profoundly threatening. Their identity relies on bending others and controlling perception. When faced with someone who refuses to compromise dignity, the narcissist feels an existential threat. Their fragile ego is challenged, destabilized, and humiliated. This is why they obsess over people who maintain boundaries. The fixation is not admiration. It is a desperate attempt to understand and regain control over what challenges them. In everyday interactions, narcissists use subtle tactics, belittlement, sarcasm, critique, to provoke insecurity or guilt. When someone sees through these tactics and maintains autonomy, the narcissist experiences cognitive dissonance. Their internal logic cannot reconcile a person who does not yield. This triggers looping thoughts, obsessive analysis, and repeated attempts to find vulnerabilities. Those who maintain clarity are not responsible for the narcissist's obsession. The fixation arises from the narcissist's inability to resolve exposure to the truth. By staying grounded, aware, and consistent, individuals preserve autonomy while revealing the narcissist's fragility. Obsession may escalate, but it is a reflection of your power, not their control. Narcissists are drawn to those who see reality clearly because such people cannot be manipulated. This awareness is a subtle, unrecognized power. Observing reality disrupts the narcissist's illusions and forces them to confront weaknesses they cannot tolerate. Their focus is both anxious and compulsive, a paradox of powerlessness and obsession. For the observer, maintaining clarity and boundaries becomes both protective and empowering. It allows self-possession without aggression and integrity without compromise. The narcissist's fixation shows their dependence on perception, while the observer's consistency becomes a shield, asserting autonomy and resilience against manipulation. Understanding narcissists highlights a recurring pattern. They constantly monitor for weakness, compliance, and vulnerability. They sense insecurity instantly and exploit it, maintaining influence over others. But when they meet someone with strong self-respect, grounded worth, and unyielding dignity, the narcissist feels insecurity and anxiety, leading to obsession. Self-respect is the internal recognition of value, not pride or arrogance. It is the ability to set boundaries and act consistently. For the narcissist, such individuals are destabilizing because their control fails. Obsession is not love. It is a reaction to being confronted with someone they cannot manipulate or conquer. They cannot rest until they have attempted to process, understand, and reclaim what they perceive as lost control. Every boundary maintained, every act of self-possession, every refusal to comply becomes a trigger for obsessive focus. This fixation is not a compliment, nor a sign of attachment. It is a manifestation of their inner turmoil, an involuntary response to the exposure of their fragility. The more clearly an individual asserts autonomy, the more the narcissist's mind loops in an attempt to resolve the paradox. It is essential to grasp that the power in these interactions does not lie with the narcissist. Their attention, intrusive as it may be, is a reflection of their inability to dominate or manipulate fully. For the person who maintains clarity, consistency, and self-respect, this obsession becomes an external phenomenon, an echo of the narcissist's instability rather than a threat to their own reality. Strong boundaries, authentic self-possession, and the refusal to play assigned roles act as both shield and mirror. They protect the individual while simultaneously reflecting the narcissist's limitations, dependency, and insecurity. What appears as obsession is in truth an acknowledgement of a power the narcissist cannot comprehend or contain, the quiet, steady power of self-respect, autonomy, and unwavering principle. The lesson is clear. To navigate narcissistic attention safely and effectively, one must cultivate self-awareness, uphold personal boundaries without aggression, and maintain an unshakable understanding of one's intrinsic worth. Obsession may persist, but it is ultimately powerless against clarity, integrity, and the steadfast assertion of identity. The more one examines narcissistic fixation, the clearer it becomes that the obsession functions as a reflection of the narcissist's internal chaos, rather than as evidence of attachment. Every attempt to control, manipulate, or provoke is a response to perceived threat. They cannot abide unpredictability, independence, or clarity of self in another because it exposes the hollowness of their own identity. The obsessive attention is essentially an attempt to recalibrate a world that feels out of balance, to restore the illusion of omnipotence, and to manage the cognitive dissonance created by encountering someone who refuses to yield. For the individual under this focus, understanding this distinction is transformative. It shifts perception from fear, confusion, or self-blame to clarity, self-possession, and strategic action. Narcissists are drawn to those who maintain internal structure because the presence of boundaries, principle, and self-respect undermines the fragile scaffolding of their ego. When someone refuses to acquiesce to expectations or to play the roles assigned by the narcissist, it triggers a mental loop that can persist for years. They analyze every word, replay interactions endlessly, and attempt to predict or manipulate behavior. Yet no amount of effort can truly penetrate a person whose autonomy is intact. Their independence is inherently destabilizing, not because it invites confrontation, but because it cannot be dominated or assimilated. This reality reframes the entire dynamic. The intensity of narcissistic attention is not a reflection of the individual's value, but a testament to their strength. It is proof that their principles, self-respect, and clarity of mind are effective shields. Each act of consistency, each maintained boundary, each refusal to internalize guilt or manipulation reinforces this protection. The narcissist may escalate, attempt subtle influence, or create social or professional complications, but their obsession exposes their limitations rather than diminishing the observer's autonomy. The paradox is striking. The more they fixate, the less power they hold over the individual. Cultivating awareness becomes the foundation for navigating these dynamics. Observing the narcissist's behavior objectively, without internalizing, reacting emotionally, or seeking to appease, creates a space for strategic clarity. Recognizing triggers, patterns, and tactics allows individuals to anticipate attempts at manipulation and respond from principle rather than fear. Selective engagement ensures emotional energy is preserved, boundaries are reinforced, and interactions are purposeful rather than reactive. In this way, the obsessive attention that once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable and predictable. Internal structure is equally vital. Strengthening one's values, clarifying priorities, and cultivating self-respect limits the efficacy of manipulative attempts. The narcissist's strategies, provocations, misinformation, projections lose potency when met with calm, consistent, and principled responses. Each reinforcement of autonomy and integrity acts as a psychological barrier, ensuring that external pressure cannot destabilize the individual's self-concept. The individual becomes resilient not through confrontation, but through steadfast adherence to principle and the cultivation of inner strength. The psychological lesson is profound. Narcissists are obsessed not because of love, desire, or attachment, but because they encounter someone they cannot control. Every intrusion, manipulation, or effort at coercion is a reflection of the narcissist's need to neutralize threat and restore internal equilibrium. Awareness of this transforms the experience from one of confusion or anxiety into a demonstration of personal power. Attention becomes evidence of resilience, autonomy, and effectiveness in maintaining one's boundaries and principles. Furthermore, refusing to play assigned roles amplifies this effect. Individuals who act according to their own values rather than external scripts destabilize the narcissist by creating unpredictability. They exist outside the mold, refuse categorization, and communicate power without aggression. This refusal to conform draws obsessive attention precisely because it cannot be reconciled with the narcissist's need for control. It is not rebellion for the sake of conflict. It is integrity in action. Their very existence becomes a mirror reflecting the narcissist's fragility, dependency, and inability to dominate. Ultimately, navigating narcissistic obsession is about reclaiming agency. It requires understanding, awareness, and strategic response. It demands cultivating internal structure, enforcing boundaries, and maintaining clarity of principle. The individual under obsessive scrutiny gains insight into the narcissist's motives, recognizes the threat-driven nature of the attention, and exercises discretion in engagement. Obsession ceases to be a source of fear or confusion. Instead, it becomes a tool for demonstrating self-possession, resilience, and autonomy. The more firmly the individual maintains clarity, consistency, and self-respect, the more powerless the narcissist becomes. Every obsessive attempt to provoke, manipulate, or destabilize only highlights the observer's strength. In this dynamic, power does not reside with the narcissist, but with the person who refuses to yield, who maintains integrity, and who operates from awareness and principle. Obsession is transformed from a source of anxiety into confirmation of psychological sovereignty, proof that autonomy cannot be undermined, and evidence that self-respect is a force the narcissist cannot overcome. Understanding narcissistic behavior is not about confrontation or trying to change them. It's about reclaiming your own power, your clarity, and your boundaries. The obsession, the manipulations, the compulsive attention are never a reflection of your worth. They are a mirror of their insecurities and need for control. By maintaining self-respect, enforcing your boundaries consistently, and grounding yourself in your own principles, you protect your autonomy and preserve your integrity. You are not defined by their fixation. You are defined by your resilience, your clarity, and your ability to stand firm in your truth. Awareness, self-possession, and strategic boundaries are your tools, not just to survive narcissistic attention, but to thrive despite it. Your independence is your strength, and no one can take that from you. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an insight. Drop a comment with the word boundaries if you're ready to protect your self-respect and navigate narcissistic dynamics with clarity. Thanks for watching Narc Truth.